What were your thoughts on the Jay-Z Beanie Sigel reunion?
When Jay brought out Beans for the title show, that was dope. It was just good to have everybody back on the same stage together. We kind of all gone our different ways and done different things, but we knew that it was going to be a monumental moment. And I think it's one of those things where we've all grown a bit. People might have had differences in the past. To put them to the side, do what's best for the culture, do what's best for the people, and do what's best for the show. At the end of the day, Jay's the kind of person that's going to do what makes it the best event possible, whether it's an album, a song, an ad campaign, a concert. His thing has always been, and he said this to me before. He's like, I just do what's best for whatever I'm doing. Put the egos to the side. So, and we saw evidence of that night.
How was it after the show? Did you all hang out?
After the show, yeah, we all hung out for a bit, and then I went to sleep. I was tired, but it was, like I said, it was just good to see everybody again, and see everybody in a positive capacity where, a lot of times when you see somebody or see people that you haven't seen for a long time, it's usually for negative reasons, like somebody died, somebody's very sick, or there's just, but it's just, or there's some kind of drama. So it was good to see everybody again under positive circumstances. Everybody was genuinely happy to see each other. I think you can see evidence of that when Beans came out on stage and hugged Jay, like that was genuine. You know what I mean? You see me and Guru having fun behind the turntables, and the keyboards, that was genuine. There was nothing forced for anybody. I think if it was forced, or if it felt like it was forced, it wouldn't happen.
What's the story behind Oh Boy? There's a rumor floating around that you made it for Jay-Z originally.
Oh, the Oh Boy beat. Gosh, Jesus. Look, it's very simple, and there's a lot of different variations of the story floating around, and I don't even knock anybody who has their own take on the story, because sometimes over the years, some people tend to forget details or remember things differently. It's very simple. I had the beat, made it like 3 different ways. First time I did it was on the SP1200, just as an experiment. That's where I got the idea from. Then I went and did it over on the MPC. And it was originally a really fast beat, like 100 BPMs. Then I took it down to like 95. Then I kept toying with different ways to do it. Made the beat, played it for Jay. He was like, yeah, that's tight. Hold that for me. But he wasn't working on an album at the time. And Jay would do that. Jay would do that all the time. Hold this for me, hold that for me, and then forget about it, like all artists do. So I'm sitting at home. I was taking a break and I had gone home because I had been in the studio for like 2 or 3 days straight. Hip hop was, our A&R calls me because hip hop had this CD. He used to have a book of CDs that all had beats from different producers, and that booklet, anything that was in that CD book was good stuff. Like that was the go-to CD book. Like, yeah, we need a beat for this. Oh, go to hip hop CD book. There's got to be something in there. So, Hip calls me one day, and was like, "Yo, I want to have Cam and them do the Oh Boy beat. Is that cool?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." I knew Jay wasn't really paying attention to it like that, and I knew he wasn't in a rush to be. He just wasn't recording at the time. So I'm like, yeah, go ahead, play it for him. Go for it. So then Guru calls me like 30 minutes later. And he's like, yo, Cameron's about to do the Oh Boy thing. I said, yeah, I spoke to hip hop. He's like, all right, cool. So they recorded. Before I even got back to the studio, Cam had already taken the record to the radio. I didn't know that. Me and him have had conversations about that. And this was where the tension with the record really came into play. It's not tension anymore. Me and Cam are good. But what happened was he got really excited because it was a good record. Right. So he ran right to Hot 97. The record wasn't even finished. Ran to Hot 97 and basically had Angie Martinez, I believe it was, play the demo. So I got to the studio around 5:30. And it was on the radio. I thought it was playing on the boombox. And I'm like, oh, that's the old boy record, dope. And then all of a sudden I hear Angie and Enough talking, and I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, I took it to the radio. I was like, I was like, yo, it's on the radio? He was like, yes. They didn't even finish the record. They got excited because it was so hot. They just ran right to the station. I said, all right, well, that's not cause a problem with publishing. And that's where the tension lied, because when you have a record, you go for sample clearance, they quote you, based on what you used, or how much of the record you used and how much you used it, or how you used it. When you have a record that is now already on the radio, the publisher is going to feel a certain way, because it's like, oh, you went and took our material, sampled it, put it on the radio, never even bothered to clear it. Now they're going to tax you. They're going to come after you. So whereas we might have quoted you 25% of your publishing, now we want 100%, or we want 50% or 75%, So, and it's funny because me and Cam actually had a conversation about this about 6 or 7 months ago. He was like, yo, back then, I was just concerned with being hot. I wasn't even thinking about the business aspect of things. He was like, you were 100% right. Because I took all the publishing that was left on that record, or not all of it, but I think the majority of it. I don't want to discuss the numbers, but I took the lion's share of what was left after the sample. And at the time, he was upset about it, and I explained to him, I said, had you just waited one day, we could have taken care of the sample issue, we could have taken the sample out maybe even, replaced it with something else, and we wouldn't have to pay anything. So if this record generated $1 million, I'm just using that as an arbitrary number, we've now lost maybe, $600,000, because you rushed to the radio. And like I said, me and Miro, that was the only source of tension with that record. They didn't jack the beat. It wasn't stolen. I knew it was being recorded. I knew they were gonna do it before they even did it, because I knew they were gonna love the record. So when hip hop called me, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, play it for them. It's gonna be a hit. And that was pretty much that. There wasn't any jacking. There weren't any. I heard stories of threats and all those. I don't know where all those stories came from or come from. But that's 100% exactly what happened with that record.
Did Jay ever approach you about the song?
No. And like I said, people, artists a lot of times when they're not in that recording mode, they forget. So me and Jay hanging out one day. He turns to me, he said, yo, that old boy record is crazy. Next time you make something like that, give it to me. And I'm like, you don't remember? I did. You told me to hold it, but you weren't working at the time. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. And that was the end of the story. That was the end of our conversation, rather, and that was it. The only thing that I was bothered by was the fact that he rushed the record to the radio. Business didn't get handled properly, so we lost out on some good money. We still made money, but we didn't make as much as we could have.
But why would Dre put me in it?
Okay.
Because if they start from where they start from, I was just a quiet girlfriend who got beat up and told to sit down and shut up.
Me personally, I do as well, because even to this day, none of his kids, none of his baby mamas, his mistresses, nobody has came up with HIV or nothing like that. So just rationally thinking, some had to go on.